Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us in this webinar today. We have a lot of content to cover, so I am going to dive straight into it. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Daniel Bridges. I manage the Escapia sales and partnerships teams. And it's great to have my Vrbo colleague here, all the way from Sydney, Toby Sconce, here with me today.
Thank you, Daniel, and thanks everyone for joining this morning. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. We really hope that you can take a few things out of this webinar and apply it to your business to help drive some bookings, make things more efficient for you. Obviously, it's a webinar catering to a bunch of people, but if you want to deep dive into the specifics of your account, you all should have a Vrbo account manager. And they're around to do precisely that. Look at data, look at your specific situation and help you out. So if you don't know who your Vrbo account manager is, please reach out.
Thanks, Toby. So yeah, today we're going to uncover the 5 top strategies for boosting your performance on Vrbo specifically. And first, we've tailored these strategies especially for Escapia users. So we want to help you take action on the areas that will move the needle the most. So today we're not just sharing some ideas, we'll go into the detail for the what, the how, and the why. So, why you should prioritize each strategy, what you need to do, and most importantly, how you can tailor and take action inside the software. And so our goal with today's presentation is to make it easy for you to boost your Vrbo revenue immediately. So the sections we're going to cover today, first of all, we'll talk about some Vrbo market trends and what it means when we say the Escapia advantage. We're going to get into some amenities, we'll look at pricing and fees, the impact of cancellation policies, Vrbo Premier host, listing status, and we'll have an opportunity at the end for some questions and answers. Now, some of you might be familiar with some of these strategies already, but today we're going to dive deeper and provide you some clear guidance and show you how you can set them up in Escapia. Because we're covering a lot today, don't worry about taking notes. We'll be sharing the recording afterwards, so you don't need to worry about furiously scribbling. And there will be plenty of time for questions and answers. So down the bottom of the screen, you'll see a little Q&A button. If you've got any questions during the webinar itself, just write them out in there. We've got someone who's capturing those, and we'll make sure we run through them at the end. So fire away with questions. Anything is welcome. I'll now kick it over to Toby, who's going to start us off with a quick update on the industry as a whole and talk through some market trends. Toby?
Yeah, so I think it comes as no surprise to everyone on this call that demand hasn't changed so much over the last couple of years, apart from the bump that we had during COVID. But I think things have returned to probably a more realistic level when it comes to demand. But what we have seen is that the supply, so the number of holiday rental listings in Australia has continued to grow. So some really interesting stats you can see here from the start of 2021. We've seen about a 45% increase in the number of listings across Australia, up to just over 130,000. And that's continued with even an 11% increase in the past year. So while demand has stayed relatively steady, we've seen this increased supply just diluting bookings. So there's just extra competition in the market for us. And at that same time, while occupancy has stayed pretty steady, we've seen the average daily rates, so what travellers are actually prepared to spend, has dropped a little bit as well. So I think what all of this adds up to is that it just means that it's more important than ever that we're taking the time to review and optimize our listings and trying to capture as much of that demand that you possibly can. And so where does Vrbo fit into this? And so the Vrbo network of websites is essentially targeting families and groups. And so we're trying to attract travelers that are going to book earlier, stay for longer, and spend more. And we see this in the data and the research that we do. And regularly we hear it from our partners that work with us that this is what they are getting from Vrbo. So while there are plenty of other websites out there that are delivering bookings, we're regularly hearing from people that they want more bookings from Vrbo because they are a higher value or higher quality of guest. And for the people on this call, you're at an advantage in using Escapia for a number of reasons. First and foremost, Escapia are an elite partner of Vrbo's. What that means is that there is a really high quality of connection, and the functionality that's available to you is the best in the market as well. Our teams are really well integrated, so whether it's support or our account management functions, we all know each other and we work seamlessly together, and so we share a lot of information. The data that we have across our platforms, again, is shared, being part of Expedia Group, and so you're getting access to so much information. And then Escapia really does tailor to the Vrbo traveler, and so building functionality whenever something is available, Escapia are right onto it to really make sure that the connection is optimized. So the first strategy that we're going to focus on is amenities. And one of the reasons why I think this is one of the most important strategies for us to talk about today is because this comes in at the top of the funnel. So when travelers get to our site, the first thing they start doing is adding filters. They'll put in their destination, they'll put in their dates, they'll add their number of travelers, and then they get their search results, and then they start filtering away for amenities that are important to them. So it's super important that you review all of your listings to make sure that the amenities that your properties do have are ticked in Escapia and feeding through and displaying on your Vrbo listings. And some of the most important ones that they're looking for are location amenities. So this is super important. So we'll dive into a bit more information in the next slide. So the average number of amenities that we like to see on a listing is around about 40, but about 22% of Escapia listings have less than 40 amenities. 13% of Escapia listings are missing a location type. And like I said, that's really important. Travelers are using this filter a lot. And so if you don't have location type ticked in Escapia, what happens is that your properties will get filtered out of search and you don't even get a shot at getting that booking. And then the last one is only 17% of Escapia properties show as pet friendly. So this is an interesting one because some of these properties may be pet friendly, but have conditions attached to that. But if they're not ticked as pet friendly, again, travelers that are looking for pet friendly properties and filtering for them, you won't even get a chance at getting that booking.
Yeah, thanks, Toby. So the good news is that in Escapia, it's easy to update your property amenities, and you can even do it in bulk. So on the screen here, you'll see the page, which is units, setup, amenity categories, where you can find the amenity you're looking for in the drop-down under amenity details. So it brings up all the units that have not been selected, and you simply highlight the units you want to reflect that amenity and click add. So that's the bulk update feature, but you can also handle your amenities at a unit level. The way you do that, as you'll see on the next slide, is to toggle them on and off. And we've even got a handy feature where you can quickly view which properties have amenities that are going to show up on Vrbo. So if you use the little toggle there, only show amenities that are included on Vrbo, it will then filter out all the available Escapia amenities and only show the ones that matter for Vrbo. So it really helps you optimize that Vrbo listing and take advantage of those filters that travelers are using during the shopping process. Toby also mentioned pets and pet-friendly properties, and we really want to boost the number of our Escapia properties that are showing in that space. We understand the policies for pets are typically determined by your owners, right? And so outside of encouraging them to have a flexible pet policy because of that popularity, you probably won't have too much control over which properties will be pet friendly. But if your properties are pet friendly, it's imperative to make sure you have the correct pet policy showing. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see here the reservation setup page where you can set your overall business policy for pets. So you can set that to, that you will accept pets or won't accept pets. But on the right-hand side, you can also go in at the unit level, go in the unit editor and define a property-specific policy, making sure it says use this entry. That will override the business setting for that specific property. So whether it's at the business level or at the property level, we've got you covered there. And a couple more pointers. So sometimes you might think you've got your amenities all set, but there can be multiple amenities for one category. And that's an important thing to bear in mind. So for example, you might have beachfront selected, but you'd also want to make sure you have oceanfront, beach, and waterfront all selected as well. That makes sure that if a Vrbo traveler is selecting one of those filters, your property is going to show rather than being filtered out. And when you're setting up your property initially, it's also really important that you set your location on the map correctly. Because if you need to adjust your location after your property's already started being distributed to a channel, in this case Vrbo, you need to contact us to update that location. And that's really easy to do for us. So please make sure you're reaching out if you need help with it. So that's our first strategy around amenities and pet friendliness. Toby, what have we got for the next one?
So our second key strategy is to review your pricing and fees. So research that we've done recently suggests that nearly 2/3 of travelers consider getting the price right to be the most important thing when they're booking on an online travel agency. So this doesn't mean being the cheapest, it means being providing the best value, but also making sure that your pricing and the setup makes sense and makes it easy for travelers to understand. So what we don't want to see is a whole bunch of different fees that just start adding to the price. Make it easy for travelers to understand how much they're going to be paying. Where possible, incorporate the fees into your nightly rates. When it comes to discounting, again, it's not about being the cheapest, it's about offering the best value. So discount where it's appropriate, where you need to. And just remember, when you are discounting, it's a good idea to really highlight that in your listing. So put it in your property headlines, put it in your description, make sure that travelers can see that and they know that they are getting value. And then the third recommendation here is to split your payment schedule. So what we often see is that, that people will ask for 100% of the payment up front. And for some travelers, that just rules them out altogether. So think about splitting the payment, asking for a deposit up front, and then the balance closer to booking. That opens up a lot more travelers to be able to afford to book your property, and hopefully for longer stays.
Yeah, and offering those length of stay and booking window discounts in Escapia is also pretty simple. An example would be, of a length of stay discounts, again, pretty simple, but I'll just say it anyway. So if you want to offer a weekly discount. And so how would you do this in Escapia? You'd go to rates, rate strategy, create new adjustment. And from there, like you'll see on the screen there, you just create a length of stay or booking window adjustment. We've got lots of help articles to help out with how to use these adjustments, and our Escapia support teams can help you as well. So make sure you're reaching out, giving them a call. As a reminder for those who haven't spoken too much to our Escapia support team, they're all Australia based for you folks. So you'll definitely reach someone in your time zone at all times if you call. So make sure you're doing that. In terms of the split payment schedules that Toby mentioned, that's also pretty simple. Now, some of you may not have these and you might not think they're something that's suitable for your business, but attractive payment plans do tend to get more bookings than requiring a security deposit or a full payment up front, especially for guests that plan their holiday a long time in advance. We've seen the rise of payment services like Afterpay or Stretch Bill or any one of a number of services that help people finance their holidays in these times where money's a little bit tight. So payment schedules might be one way that you could take advantage of those travelers. To do this, inside Escapia, you can set your payment schedule on the accounting setup deposit policies screen. And again, we've got supporting articles on escapia.com that can help you with this. Or again, contact our support team.
Our third strategy for today is to offer more flexibility. And when I talk about flexibility, I think the thing that comes top of mind is around your cancellation policy. We all know that a lot of people experienced some problems through COVID, had to cancel bookings. And for a lot of people, they lost money, missed out on holidays, and they still wear those scars. And so for 57% of people, having refundable options for the properties that they are going to book is super important. And when they're looking on a site like Vrbo, there's a couple of things that they can do. First of all, they can filter to properties that will offer a refund. So that's really important. If you have a no refund policy, straight away, your properties will not appear in their search results. And then in the search results, if the traveler has done a dated search, they can actually see what the cancellation policy is. This is one of the things that really stands out. So this is really important. And I guess the important thing is that you're competitive against the other properties that are listed on our site. So make sure you're checking what other people are offering as well. You just want to be that step ahead. And then by offering a sorry, just finish off that last one. And by offering a more relaxed cancellation policy, what we generally see is an increase in the number of bookings that you're likely to get. That improves your conversion rate. So when travelers are coming to our site, they're actually booking your properties. Your conversion rate on that listing improves, which then means that you're going to be in front of more travelers in the future. So the opportunities for Escapia partners that we've seen, we think 67% of Escapia partners or properties would benefit from a more flexible cancellation policy. What we actually see is a 51% increase in conversion for properties that have a refundable a cancellation policy that is fully refundable at least 30 days before the guest checks in. So just to recap on that, you want to make sure that your cancellation policy is flexible. It's going to attract more travelers. You're going to convert more of these shoppers into bookers, and that's going to give you more opportunities for future bookings as well.
Yeah, and it is very easy to update your cancellation policy in Escapia. So just go to reservations, Vrbo, edit lodging policy, and you'll see the screen that you've got in front of you there. And where the right-hand red box is highlighting is where you change your policy. So if you were wanting to move to a relaxed policy, you'd select relax. And you can also pick and choose which properties you want to define a more flexible cancellation policy for.
And this is a really good example that highlights what a more flexible cancellation policy can do. This is a case study that, with an account called Evolve, one of our key partners in the US. And what they tested was going from a non-refundable deposit of 30% to a cancellation policy whereby they offered free cancellation up to 14 days before check-in. And during the first 2 weeks of this test, what they saw was an increase in bookings of 26%. Revenue went up per listing 53%. And overall, it improved the guest experience by just reducing that sort of friction that you get when people have something come up and they need to cancel. And at the same time, the actual number of cancellations remained pretty stable compared to the previous year. And then after the test, because of these excellent results, they rolled it out across their portfolio. All right, so the fourth strategy that we're going to talk to today is prioritizing Vrbo Premier Host. So what is Premier Host? Premier Host is a program that Vrbo offers to its partners that provide the best traveler experiences. And what you get for that is that you get a badge on your listing. Travelers can filter to listings that are Premier Hosts. You automatically get a bit of a boost in sort order, and then you get priority support through our customer service team. And just a reminder, if you hit Premier Host status, this applies to all of the properties in your portfolio. The good news is that 72% of Escapia partners are currently Premier Hosts. And I think this is a reflection of what we talked to earlier around the quality of the connection that we have between Escapia and Vrbo, but also the work that you guys do. It's important to stay on top of the changes that we make to Premier Host. We want to make sure that this is a program that is rewarding and reflecting our highest quality partners that provide the best experiences. So it is regularly changing, and we changed it in January 2024. So reviews and cancellation rates are sort of the top reasons why people are missing on Premier Host, but I'll go into what the specific criteria is and what's changed. So from January this year, this is the Premier Host criteria. These are averages across your account. So you need to have a 95% or higher booking acceptance rate. If your listings are instantly bookable, you automatically qualify for this. You need to have a 4.4 star or higher average review rating. This is increased from 4.3. Your cancellation rate, this is if it's a host initiated cancellation, this needs to be below 1%. It used to be 5%. You need to have 3 or more guest reviews and 5 or more bookings or 60 booked nights across your portfolio. And so the two things that we'll focus on, like I said, that are causing most people to miss are reviews and cancellations. But the focus on reviews is important because there are 2 components of this in terms of hitting Premier Host status. And the first of them being a 4.4 or higher average review rating, and then 3 or more reviews across the whole account. So a couple of strategies for targeting reviews. Won't go into all of these things, but I think in terms of making sure that the review ratings that you're getting, there's a number of things that we recommend you do that revolve around connecting with the guest, whether it's thanking them, asking them for their story, getting to know them, doing little things like putting maybe a gift basket or a bottle of wine in the fridge, that sort of thing. Make sure that you're responding to traveler reviews as well. That's another thing that when you rate the traveler, that's something that will encourage travelers to actually review your property. And then responding to the reviews that have been posted. This is important for a number of reasons. I think it's important to acknowledge when someone has posted a review for you, even if it's a good review, thank them for it. If it's a bad review, make sure you're addressing that, because that's really important for future travelers. It's a great opportunity if you get a review that might have something negative in it, for you to be able to turn that review around into what future travelers will see as a really positive experience, because you've acknowledged something that's gone wrong, you're professional, and you want to actually help them and you care about their stay. And so just go back and the schedule that you'll see down the bottom of the page here. So Vrbo does send out a couple of solicitations for reviews. The traveler will get a request to review the property on the day of checkout. They'll get another one after 11 days if they haven't reviewed the property. But then you've also got the opportunity to send out further requests for reviews. We sort of recommend that 7 to 14 days is a good sort of window if you haven't had a review as soon as the guest is checked out.
Yeah, those are good recommendations, Toby. And to help drive more reviews, we also recommend setting up additional review requests in Escapia to complement those Vrbo sends, because in Escapia we've got the communications hub, and in there you can configure automated sends for SMS or emails or both. So as an example communication plan, you might let the first automated Vrbo branded email go out on the day after day of checkout. And then within Escapia's communications hub, you could send out an SMS on the day of or day after checkout if you'd like to reach on-the-go guests. Then maybe a week later, you could send a branded email out of Escapia requesting a review. Branding obviously gives it more personalization for you rather than relying on the Vrbo branded emails, and allows you to provide a more welcoming and personalized message. And then you've got the Vrbo branded email again that goes out 11 days after. So, you can fully configure your own schedule for driving those reviews between Vrbo and the communications hub. And make sure you consider using text messaging to help drive that timely message right where they are at the time, especially if they're continuing on their travels. Here's how you do it in Comms Hub. The red box shows you how you set the delivery schedule for the emails or the SMS. It's pretty simple. And, for the Comms Hub overall, if you haven't seen it lately, I'd encourage you to go and review the options that are available there now. We've made a lot of changes and improvements to the scheduling options, the things that you can include in your templates like images. We've added more merge tags to bring more dynamic data into your emails and SMS for the guests. And for most of you now, we should also have two-way SMS enabled, so that a guest can reply to an SMS that you've sent and it'll come right back into the Comms Hub. So if you've got questions about any of those things, our Escapia support team would love to hear from you. Speaking of questions, just a reminder, you can submit questions anytime using the Q&A. Haven't seen many coming through so far. I know our Australian property managers are not usually too shy in answering questions, but maybe our New South Wales ones are hurting a little bit from State of O last night and are suffering. So maybe I'll rely on the Queensland ones. All right. Next slide. Oh, yeah, we're there. So let's talk about cancellation rate now, because it's an other area that sometimes we see some struggles with to meet the Premier host requirements. You'll notice that it's specified as partner-initiated cancellations, which brings me to our next recommendation, which is that it's very important to make sure you select the right cancellation reason in Escapia when you do have a cancellation. And we released a new feature in Escapia a couple of months ago to help with this. So to help meet that owner-initiated cancellation rate requirement, which is below 1%, we give you more options when you're choosing a cancellation reason. So previously, if a user selected other as the cancellation reason, it fed to Vrbo as an owner-initiated cancellation. to help with the new requirements, we've changed that traveler initiator there. So make sure you're calling Escapia support. You've got any questions about how to use these, what they mean, where they map to. But on the next slide, you'll see that in general, they map as follows, with the gray ones mapping to owner-initiated cancellations, things like unit not available, owner-initiated cancellation, rate incorrect on website, and then the green ones being the traveler-initiated cancellations, things like, they haven't paid or they changed their mind, those sorts of things. So do make sure you're contacting us with any questions about any of this, or your Vrbo account manager, I'm sure, can help you if you've got specific questions about how they appear on Vrbo. And that's it for number 4. Toby, what's our last strategy for today?
So this one might seem pretty obvious, but our 5th strategy is making sure that your Vrbo listings are actually live by checking their status. So there's plenty of reasons why a listing might not be live on the Vrbo site. You might think that it's all set up correctly in your Escapia system, but if it's not live on Vrbo, then obviously you're not benefiting from those travelers that are booking further in advance, staying for longer, etc. There's lots of different things around property registration with governments. Maybe there's missing content. There's lots of different little reasons why your listing might not actually be live, and we regularly see it. So please make sure that you're spending the time just checking this. Daniel's going to show you where you do that in Escapia.
Yeah, cool. So, to this point, we've been talking about things that will help you appear in more searches to more travelers possible, right? So more amenities, more filters, more flexible cancellation policies, better payment options. So help you appear to more guests. But, that's not going to help if your listing's not even on Vrbo to start with. So to help with that, we've got a limited time offer for those who might not have all their properties on Vrbo. For a limited time, you'll get a $100 credit for every new listing you add to Vrbo. And so how does this work? First of all, add your listings to Vrbo. A listing qualifies for this deal when it has not been advertised on Vrbo for at least 12 months or not at all. Secondly, to get your credit, you'd email csm@escapia.com. That goes to our account managers with your new Vrbo listing numbers. The Vrbo team will then verify their net new listings, and then the credit would be applied to your Escapia account. So you just pay less on your Escapia bill. The more new listings you add, the more of a credit you'll get. So take advantage of this, because this is an Escapia exclusive benefit and can give you some actual dollars in your account straight away. And we've got a case study from another Escapia account, Surfside Realty. They increased their live listings on Vrbo from 85 to 243 in the first quarter of this year. And they're already seeing their revenues at 81% of their total 2023 revenue in just the first 5 months. So that's some pretty staggering revenue increases just by increasing their exposure on a key channel. And because they took advantage of the $100 software offer, they're also getting $15,000 off their Escapia bill over time. So a pretty good deal all around. If you have any properties you're not listing, take advantage of this offer. It expires currently at the end of August, I believe. Then once your listings are on Vrbo, how do you check the status of them? Sometimes we see that a listing might go off or become inactive for various reasons. And sometimes it can be hard to diagnose why. Well, to help with that, we've released the new property status page inside Escapia in the unit editor. And this can help you keep tabs on your listings and monitor for unexpected changes. So it'll show you the listing link and whether the listing is active or inactive on Vrbo, like you can see on the screen here. So we've got the 2 screenshots. The one at the back there shows a little green highlighted active icon and then the listing link, but the one in front shows an inactive one. And you can see that in addition to the listing link, it also shows some reasons down below that can help you diagnose why it's inactive and the course of action to take to get it live again. So this should help you troubleshoot the issues and minimize the downtime of your listings so that you don't miss any bookings. This is the first step in enabling you to be first to know if there's an issue with your Vrbo listings, because as we know, it can be very painful if it's your owner that tells you that their listing's down. And we've got some enhancements coming up soon in this space as well to continue to build on this. So we will be proactively notifying you of any listing status changes. So if you have a listing that goes inactive, we'll let you know so that you can go and take a look. And finally, in this space, to make these Vrbo coaching opportunities easier for you, we've gone through a lot of things today, as I've said, so cancellation policies, amenities, and so forth. We've got another new feature coming up in Escapia, which will be a new coaching recommendation service right within the software. So we'll be able to message opportunities on various pages across Escapia, like the units editor, reservations, accounting, reviews, and lodging policy screens. So this should help make your workflow simpler by offering suggestions inside Escapia right where the action needs to take place. So this, we hope, will help you perform better on Vrbo. And then lastly in this space, because we are part of the same family, we can collaborate closer together to help you succeed. So we're not just a software system, and we're not just a distribution platform. We're a team, and we like to think of you as our partners. We've got teams to help you with your business, and we'd love you to reach out to your Vrbo Partner Success account manager or to Escapia support to get a detailed account review and one-on-one coaching. I know Toby's team and our teams in Escapia are ready for that. And in fact, we have another special offer at the moment, which is to give you one free Escapia professional services session per month. And this can cover any topic that you like that you want more help with in Escapia. And to get this, just visit escapia.com/training. There's a form there that you'll need to fill out, and a team member will be in touch to schedule the training with you. That's the end of those strategies. And now we've got some time for questions and answers. We've got a few that have come through, which is great. We've given you our 5 strategies for boosting your Vrbo revenue. And hopefully we'll have time to go through all these questions. If we don't, we'll try and answer them afterwards. I think we've got the details of the folks who are attending the call. What have we got? All right, we've got one question here. It's come through initially from Mark. Mark says, I'd like to know who my Vrbo account manager is. Toby, how does Mark find that out?
Mark, I'll have a look in our system after this call, and I'll reach out to you and let you know, and I'll connect you with your Vrbo account manager.
Excellent. Thank you, Toby. All right. Next question. Is there a way to reply to older reviews? We have a unit that was remodeled and would like to respond to old reviews. I actually don't know the answer to that question right off the bat from an Escapia point of view, but Toby, is there a way in Vrbo to go back to previous bookings that hadn't been responded to?
I'm not entirely sure how far back you can go, but I think it's worth reaching out to us and we can have a look at it for you. If you log into your Vrbo dashboard and you go to the reviews tab, it will, if there is the option to respond, there will be a little button that you can click on.
Great. Next question. When setting a cancellation policy in Escapia, does that only apply to Vrbo and not to Airbnb, Booking.com, and other sites? Yeah, those are your Vrbo lodging policies. That's right. If you're wanting to manage cancellation policies across other sites, those would usually be done in that channel directly. And so, for instance, if we're talking about Airbnb, you do that in your Airbnb dash and so forth. Next question. What's the criteria for the $100 software incentive? We have some units that have been off of Vrbo for more than a year, but they still have the old Vrbo numbers when we activate them. Will they still qualify? Yes, they'll still qualify. As long as they've been inactive for over a year, they would still qualify under this promotion as a net new listing, and you'd get that $100 credit. Another one, will you send out this recording following this meeting? Yes, we will certainly be doing that, as well as sending some other information. So watch out for that. They'll come through in the next couple of days. Keep those, that's the end of the questions we've had so far, but keep them coming while I do this little wrap up. Because we've gone through a lot of topics today, including all aspects of how to optimize your Vrbo listings. And so let's do a quick summary. So we started with amenities. Without the correct amenities selected, you won't show in search queries. So make sure you're using the bulk update in Escapia and unit level to make sure you've got the right amenities showing on Vrbo. You can manage your pet policies in the house rules section of Escapia. And remember, our data shows an increase in amenities directly ties to an increase in property views and bookings. Second strategy was about pricing and fees. Make sure you consider discounts, split payment schedules, wherever possible. The third one was about cancellation policies, and we saw some big numbers like a 51% increase in conversion rate on Vrbo when you move to a more flexible cancellation policy. And so do make sure you're revising your cancellation policies wherever possible. Then we talked about Premier Host, and the criteria are getting more strict. So you need to make sure that you know what the goals are to help you hit or maintain those Premier Host requirements so that you appear in as many searches as you can and as high up as you can. So the top two areas to pay attention to were reviews and cancellation reasons. So we've got ways for you to optimize your own schedule of review requests, and plenty of ways in Escapia to make sure that you can also optimize your cancellation reasons. And our last strategy was about making sure all your listings are live. We saw Surfside Realty with their case study showing that they're already at 80% of their 2024 revenue, their 2023 revenue in the first 5 months of this year. And if you want to be in the same category, do try and take advantage of adding more listings to Vrbo if you can and get that $100 listing credit. And then lastly, we'd love to hear we've had a few more questions come in. I'll get to those real quick now. So Chris, hello Chris, how's Stradbroke? Would love to be able to see Vrbo's status as a bulk view for all listings. Yep, great call. That's one of those enhancements that we've got coming. And that applies to a few pages across Escapia as well, as more of a snapshot view of various statuses across your listings, rather than having to drill down into each listing and find it. We're going to bubble it further up in the list. So good feedback there. Thanks, Chris. Kim says, where is the best place to request feature requests? Will we get feedback on an update on our requests? So there are places within Escapia to do that. Up in the top right-hand corner, you'll see, I'm not inside Escapia, I think it's a question mark, a submit feedback feature, and that's across a number of different pages. And what it does is it sends a feedback on that feature to all the Escapia leadership team and all the product and dev teams. So everyone sees those and reads those, and we review them on a regular basis. Some of them we use to tip into existing products that we're already building, and some of them we use to factor into future roadmap items that we'd like to build. I think in terms of, so first of all, they do get read, they do get actioned, but sometimes that action might be a little bit further down the track, right? And because we do get quite a few, we don't always reply to all those requests, but just know that they are always being read. Susie says, thanks for an informative session, Daniel and Toby. Oh, you're very welcome, Susie. And yeah, we will be having more of these. And so to that point, when we close out this webinar, you will see a very short survey. We'd love you to fill it in, please. They really do help us to optimize these webinars and make them more useful. So if you have scathing feedback, we want to hear that too. It really does help, so submit it for us. All right, well, thank you for your time today. Look out for the recording and have a great rest of your day.